I think it's fair to say that there haven't been that many eye-opening video games lately. Now, let's be honest, there were definitely a good bit of titles that were released. You had titles back in 2024 like Black Myth Wukong, Helldivers 2, Astrobot, hell, even Balatro. And you had titles in 2025 like Clair Obscur, Monster Hunter Wilds, Doom the Dark Ages. Heck, even Stellar Blade has been rocketing. Don't hide it, don't hide it. We all know why you play it. Don't worry, I'm with you 100%. With these great titles that have peaked, it feels like there hasn't been that many games that made a lasting impression like they did. Like always, you'll always have that one smaller game that would stick around for a while. Although there are still games that are releasing as always, it makes me wonder, what happened with the VR genre? Like always, VR boomed around the pandemic era, but it actually gained a bit of popularity before 2020. With the release of the idea of virtual reality, many people were interested and excited about it. To many, it was like the future of immersion in gaming. Being able to feel like you're actually in a game. You already had a big 3 before 2020 rolled around. You had the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive. Even PlayStation decided to join in. The thing that held them back was the high prices. Like always, VR really took off during COVID. Oh, I feel like I've talked about COVID so many times it feels like it's a regular in my videos. Now, to give a brief, a lot of us know what went down during COVID. People were locked up in their houses, many were scavenging around for stuff like toilet paper and hand sanitizer, but probably a larger issue to many, we were bored as hell. Which is why social media popped off, and many found other ways to occupy themselves. Around this time, VR saw an opportunity. You had headsets like the Oculus Quest that boomed in 2020. To be honest, Oculus just sounds way better than Meta. This gave people a more affordable way of playing VR, and honestly, it worked. People were able to play VR without any crazy setup. Just a headset, 2 controllers, and a cable. Unless you were one of the people who had the Oculus Go. You could only do so much with one controller. Block City was like the VR chat of the Go. I wonder if any of you had one. I sure did. And let me tell you, it compares nothing to other headsets. What was even better is that you already had games before the Oculus Quest was released. You had titles like VR Chat, Beat Saber, Boneworks, Job Simulator, Super Hot, and Blade and Sorcery. And there was so much more than what I listed. Having such a huge catalog, it almost felt hard not to be bored when playing VR. The feeling of being in a game itself, being able to talk and feel like you're right next to people in the comfort of your own home, the mere idea of it seemed flawless during COVID. Games continue to come out, and many people continue picking up a headset. You had many great content creators who gave VR content. You even had content creators outside of VR give it a try. VR continued thriving for a while. Many titles were still being released, affordable headsets improving in terms of quality over time. They honestly had it going for them. But as we move closer to 2024 and 2025, you start to realize how quiet VR became. You still had titles that came out in 2024. You had a few interesting titles like Batman, Arkham Shadow, and Behemoth. And let's not forget about Among Us. But let's be honest, Among Us died long ago. Unless you are a kid, or you have a lobby full of friends, or if you're that one content creator that terrorizes children who play the game, I don't see people playing the game anytime soon. The thing is that it felt quiet when these titles were announced and released. Not saying that they weren't heard. I definitely remember seeing the announcement for Arkham Shadow and being interested in it. We still had affordable headsets improving in quality. You had the MetaQuest 3 allowing you to see the environment around you clearly while having the headset on. But it just seems like it wasn't enough to keep the spark of VR gaming. It felt like way less games were being released, and honestly, I could see why. Now, to be fair, I barely have any knowledge of what it takes to make a game. No, but knowing that video games are tough to make, it probably adds way more challenges than making games VR compatible. And let's be honest, like most things, the hype for VR dropped after the pandemic passed through. It would be hard to invest into a game knowing that the attraction for it has died down significantly. And let's not forget that for most games, many would have to have headsets. And I'm sure many are having their headsets collect dust. I know mine sure is. And let's not forget about that Apple Vision Pro that's creeping over there in the corner. So, it brings the question, where is VR headed in 2025? The good thing is that it obviously isn't completely dead. There's still development in hardware towards VR. There's rumors of a new headset possibly coming out towards the end of 2025. There's apparently a VR chair, along with work towards haptic suits. And it seems like VR rose in helping training and learning a bit. The Apple Vision Pro is still getting updates, one of them going towards gaming. Although, I generally don't know if many people have an Apple Vision Pro. It's been a while since I heard anything on it. And there's still titles that are coming out in the VR genre. One game I found pretty interesting is Project Mix. And we can't forget about Among Us now, can we? It does seem like the VR space is still going. Don't worry, your headset might not be collecting dust for too long. I gotta say, VR was definitely a way that I loved playing video games. It honestly was an interesting concept, a straight up evolution towards gaming. The high quality immersion, the ability to interact with the game using your own hands, it definitely was an experience. It's nice to think back to when VR was at its peak, when everyone was getting their hands on a headset. It's good to know that it still continues, even if it's in a quiet way. Anyway, I think that's a good place to end it. I hope you enjoyed watching. Let me know if your headset is collecting dust. I'll catch y'all later. Have a good one.